ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Australian Indian Radio's daily Facebook Live update. Hey, how are you? And good to see you. How was your weekend, by the way? Whatever was out there for you. And I know a lot of people did get out and about, even though there was a bit of rain. But it was good to see people going out responsibly, taking that responsibility in hand. What have we seen in the weekend? We have seen all that cases in Victoria, so that is not a very good sign there. So Queensland borders, are still a little bit tight and strict, so we will try and keep it that way. And we will hear from the Premier very, very soon as well. And once again, it's so nice to see you after this weekend. So let's take a look at what today is going to be looking like. So forecast for Monday, the maximum of 21, windy, mostly sunny. Chance of rain is 0%, so there's no chance of rain, as you can see out the window behind me. It is a wonderful day and a lovely day out there. Mostly sunny, winds will be 15 to 25 kilometers per hour, increasing to 30 to 45 kilometers in the morning, and then tending northwesterly, 15 to 20 kilometers in the evening. Fire danger is low and moderate, but you have had me before, and I'll say that again, that always take precautions when you're handling fire. It is very, very, dangerous, so you have to be always very careful. Sun protection is recommended from now till about 1:40, with the UV index reaching up to 4 today. So looking at all these cases, they're talking about so many cases in many places. So right now, so this is what Queensland is like. No new cases, and it confirmed cases we have is 1,076, with the recovery of 1,063 and death at 6. So that's the Queensland's figures. And Australia-wide, with the confirmed cases is 14,403, 9,170 recoveries, and 155 deaths. Confirmed cases worldwide. Now, we were talking about 15 point something million, remember? Wasn't long ago. Well, today it is 16.1 million. So 16.1 million confirmed reported cases so far. And recovery out of that is 9.29 million and 645k deaths. So they were up to date on Australian Indian Radio's daily live updates. So let's take a very quick look at what the cave was like, in the week gone by.
After this week's National Cabinet meeting, it seems all states are still signed on to the strategy of suppression. But over time, it seems like that has changed its meaning slightly. It's clear now the ultimate goal is to end community transmission in Australia. Sydney is still playing a long game of coronavirus whack-a-mole, but there have been relatively few cases found this week with an unknown source of transmission. The main focus now is this cluster, which started at the Thai Rock restaurant in Wetherill Park, but it's now spread to the point where there's potential exposure among people who attended a handful of church events or attend a series of schools. We just don't know yet if all of the cases in that cluster have yet been tracked down. Further south, Victoria may have reached a plateau. I'm saying that extremely cautiously, but the trend has levelled out for the last couple of days. Let's hope to see that continue. But there are still environments where the virus is spreading, workplaces like abattoirs and warehouses, and there's another high-risk environment where we cannot say yet that the curve has flattened. In the past fortnight, the total number of residents of aged care homes across the country has quadrupled. When SARS-CoV-2 finds an environment that it likes, it can be very hard to get rid of. Take Singapore, for example, a country that was very much keeping this virus under control until it breached migrant worker dormitories. To be clear, these are living conditions far more cramped than you're likely to find in Australia en masse. But 3 months after the virus got in, that's still where almost all of Singapore's cases are being found. This week's economic modelling makes an assumption that Melbourne will be in lockdown for just 6 weeks. With a curve like this, still recording hundreds of cases every day, Victoria's a long way from no community transmission. And David, it's not impossible, but with just 3.5 weeks to go until this lockdown's supposed to end, getting there might be a bit of a stretch.
The latest update there on the curve and looking at the cases and a very good summary of that as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, right now, once again, welcome to the show. If you have just joined in, it's so wonderful to see you and all those comments that have come in over the weekend and the number of views that keeps increasing, which is very good to see. Now, as I have mentioned before, if you do have any suggestions, any things that you would like to see on the show, we're quite happy to incorporate that into the show because this is your show and we would like you to have see on the show what you would want. Well, right now, let's join our Premier and Henry Palasai. If you are watching, once again, thank you so much for being there with us all the time. And as we know, our Premier, very proud of what she's doing. So he is the latest from the Premier.
Okay, you let me know when everyone's right. Okay, great. All right, well, good morning, everyone. So, first of all, I can report that we have had 0 overnight cases. So, well done, Queensland. Great work. But, of course, we know we have to keep our social distancing up. So, tonight we'll be releasing a new awareness campaign, once again, making sure that people are doing the right thing. Now, can I stress, we have eased restrictions here in Queensland, but we need everyone to do the right thing. So please keep up that social distancing and that good hand hygiene. And of course, we still have those really tough measures at the border with those that extra hotspot of Fairfield being declared from today. And of course, there will be delays at the border. I can't do anything about that. There will be delays because we are protecting Queensland. And I do want to thank everyone there on the borders who are doing an amazing job keeping Queenslanders and all Queenslanders safe. Well, today I'm very pleased to join Minister Kate Jones, local member for Mount Ommaney, Jess Pugh, and of course John and Dennis Wagner. And as John commented, I think we've got a bit of Toowoomba weather here today at the moment, those westerly winds coming in. But of course we know how important jobs are as we unite and recover. And this Cross River Rail project is a huge investment in infrastructure in the southeast of our state. It is about transforming the way that we travel, making sure that we have shorter travel times from those outer southeastern areas coming into the CBD and creating new train stations and underground and also precincts, which will mean even more thousands and thousands of jobs. Well, today we're at Wagner's and of course concrete is needed for the tunnels and the walls of the tunnels, and that's where they'll be made right here in Queensland. Locally produced, utilising local workers, and it's wonderful to see the trainees that will also be employed on this project. This is about giving our young people those skills and traineeships that they need for the future. So hundreds of jobs on this project. This batch of concreting will start underway in September. It'll go through, it'll be working 5 days a week, 24 hours a day. And of course, there will be 70 direct staff involved in this project, and there will be 25,000 tunnel segments. So this is an enormous job, and it means that local businesses are benefiting from the work of Cross River Rail, which of course is a mega $5 billion project. So I'll hand over to Minister Jones to say a few words, and then we're happy to take some questions, and of course then John and Dennis. Thank you.
And thank you very much for that wonderful update, Premier. As we know, that there's been lots that's been happening around Queensland, always people will talk about many different things, but what we need to look at is the overall result and the outcomes that we have been able to achieve collectively right here in Queensland. And that is wonderful to see that, that has been the case. Well, right now we will be moving off to another news, and that is once again around Queensland and about Queensland. So let's take a very good look at some of the incentives that has been put in place and the amount of money that is going into our parks. Our parks need to be designed in a manner which is looking at the needs of the future. So let's take a very quick look at this report.
The All Abilities and Water Park here in Maryborough is a total value of $3.8 million with funding under the COVID Works for Queensland program. We now are able to complete both Stage 1 and Stage 2 of this park to bring it to our community so much quicker. So this All Abilities Water Park is the first of its kind on the Fraser Coast. It is going to assist so many families across our region. So the overall generous contributions is a total of $9 million. Now this $9 million is going towards 21 projects and is making room for an additional 150 jobs in our region. It could not have happened without the amazing, generous support of the Queensland State Government. It's not going to disqualify children of all abilities to be able to come and play with grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles. It's here for everybody and everyone's going to be welcome to come and enjoy it.
And that's wonderful news once again there, so that everyone can come in. And thanks for the support of Queensland Government in making that happen. Right now, this report before we go into news in brief.
A house party in Perth has turned wild this weekend with a teenager accused of spitting blood at a police officer. Let's bring in Today reporter Michael Genovese for more on this. And Jenna, this was a party that ended in violence.
Ali, good morning. Kids as young as 14, so drunk that they'd passed out, their parents refusing to come and pick them up. That was the state of this house party in Rivervale at the weekend. It became out of control and violent when a man was assaulted. Police were then called at that point and tried to disperse the 100 plus people who were there with pepper spray. Now, when that failed, they tried to physically remove those people. And it's at that point in the night when a 16-year-old girl is now accused of spitting blood at a police officer. She was then bitten on the leg by a police dog. All this while a 14-year-old girl was found unconscious. She had to be taken to Perth Children's Hospital. Now, a 19-year-old has also been charged with obstructing police officers. This is an Airbnb, so when the party hosts booked it from the owners, they told them that they were actually in town for a church convention and needed somewhere to stay. Police officers are still investigating. They have spoken to a number of those juveniles who had attended that party, and it is possible that we will see more charges laid. Ali?
Airbnb story that goes wrong, and it was being booked for a church convention, and the kid is getting up to the party and the party times. Well, I mean, today we are all looking at Victoria, so let's go to Victoria right now and get an update on what's happening there from the Premier, Daniel Andrews himself.
There are 7,744 cases of coronavirus. That's 357 new since we last updated you. 37 of those are connected to known and contained outbreaks. 320 of those cases are under investigation by our public health team. I'm very sad to have to report a further 5 Victorians have passed away, bringing to a total of 61 the number of Victorians who have died because of this global pandemic, this virus. I don't have large amounts of detail, but I can share with you there is a woman in her 60s, a woman in her 70s, a woman in her 80s, and a woman in her 90s, and a man in his 80s. There are 229 Victorians in hospital, and 42 of those are receiving intensive care. Yesterday we did 20,313 tests, bringing our total tests since January 1 to 1,457,546. There are 3,995 active cases across Victoria. 313 healthcare workers are active cases, which is a significant challenge in terms of furloughing staff and managing rosters. There are 536 active cases in aged care, 38 aged care settings. They are split roughly evenly between staff and residents, about 50-50.
So that's the update there from the Premier, Daniel Andrews, and those numbers are quite staggering when you look at, that what's happened in the weekend, and people are just not taking example. Did you see that clip of the incident in Bunnings where the lady refused to wear a mask? Well, she has since apologized, and I think she has been charged as well for her behavior. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now let's take a commercial break before we go on to the news in brief, which will be coming up right after the commercial break. And we'd like to thank our partners and sponsors, GlobeNet Realty.
ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी 1989 से लेकर अब तक का विश्वसनीय और माननीय ब्रिस्बेन का रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। उषा चंद्रा, जो कि ग्लोबनेट की डायरेक्टर है, अपने ग्राहकों को ईमानदार और एथिक सर्विसेज देती हैं। अगर आप ब्रिस्बेन की प्रॉपर्टी में पूंजी लगाना चाहते हैं और आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को प्रोफेशनली मैनेज किया जाए, तो आप आज ही कांटेक्ट कीजिए उषा चंद्रा को। लैंडलाइन नंबर है 38654466 और मोबाइल नंबर है 0419775416। और आप प्रॉपर्टी की अधिक जानकारी और करंट अपडेट्स के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट पे लॉगिन कर सकते हैं। हमारी वेबसाइट है www.globenetreality.com.au। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी आपका अपना लोकल रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। हमारा पता है ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, शॉप नंबर 5, 2281 सैंडगेट रोड, बुंदल, क्वींसलैंड। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, रियल एस्टेट इज आवर वर्ल्ड।
And it definitely is the world as we know. Well, right now we go to look at some of the news in brief, and many things that have been happening around the world, which we will try and bring to you. But we know that Olivia de Havilland, Gone with the Wind star, dies at age 104. One of the last of the stars, and I think from her time she was considered as one of the last surviving actors of the golden age of Hollywood, and she has passed away at the age 104.
Gone with the Wind really was the happiest experience of my entire career, making that film. Well, I love making Gone with the Wind, and the mysterious thing is that we had a feeling in those days when a film lasted 1 year and then we never saw it again, that this film would last longer. We never thought it was going to last, what is it, 60 years, is it not? Going on for, yes, it's about 60 years. In 1999 it will be 60 years. Isn't that splendid?
Gone with the Wind, yes. So one of the last surviving actresses of Gone with the Wind. Well, Newcastle has been struck with flash flooding. Flash flooding across Newcastle and New South Wales has sparked a wave of requests for help. Here's a clip from someone, it's an amateur clip from a mobile phone. But as you can see, the extent of the flood and the flooding in there. So I was just wondering about the warning that, if it's flooded, forget it. So what's happening there, I don't know. Well, right now, let's move on. Parents of nurses worry about their daughter being on front line in fight against coronavirus. The other day, I was in for my specialist checkup, and I said to the nurses there that, really admire what you people are doing. It was about 3:30 and she still had a sandwich in her hand. I said, you're pretty late for lunch. And she said, I don't think I'm going to even have that. I'm going to move on to the next duty that she said she wouldn't even have time for that. So parents of this nurse also, they worry about so parents of Catherine, who is a nurse at the Royal Children's Hospital, asks Victorians to take responsibility and help alleviate the pressure of frontline workers. And it is a message which needs to cut across. Let's spread this message.
She's always wanted to be a nurse, ever since she was a little girl. We are incredibly proud of the work she does. But we're also really scared, and I'm fearful that if she was to get it, because our daughter is on the front line and she's doing her job, that's what she's doing, her job.
We really need to think of ourselves as being the frontline workers. It's our actions that can control it.
It's up to us to do the right thing.
And a very important safety message there. Well, right now, let's hear from our treasurer and see what the economic consequences are and how does it look.
Now, with the economy starting to recover and in transition, obviously beyond and outside of Victoria, we thought that it was important to continue this program because there is still need, but to do so with a reapplied eligibility test, with a step-down payment and with a two-tiered payment.
And that's what I'm asking about. Why now reduce these payments?
Well, these payments are going to continue and are going to be at a significant amount. So at $1,200...
Yeah, I'm asking why the reduction?
Ultimately, this is a program that at $11 billion cannot be continued, and $11 billion a month.
So it costs too much? Is that the answer?
Well,
it costs too much?
At the end of the day, we have to make sure that our spending is sustainable. At $11 billion a month, that is an enormous bill. At $86 billion, it's the single largest initiative that any Australian government has undertaken.
Okay,
but it's a transition.
The Reserve Bank Governor says, quote, the biggest policy mistake to make at the moment would be to withdraw support too early. He certainly doesn't seem to think there's a problem with the level of debt.
But actually, we're not withdrawing support, and I've been in close contact with the Reserve Bank Governor. What we're doing is
reducing the amount.
Well, it's still at a very high amount, at $1,200. It's around 80% of the minimum wage, and then it steps down again in January. But importantly, we haven't changed this legislated program from what is going out until the end of September, and then we're continuing it beyond then. But what we do know is that JobKeeper, together with our other economic support measures, have saved some 700,000 jobs, and this spending initiative from the government has been the largest single economic support measure that any Australian government has ever undertaken.
So that's the update there from the Treasurer, and as we know, it is going to be tough times ahead, challenging times ahead as well. A lot of planning needs to be put in place for individual businesses as well. Plan and watch that cash flow and do those cash flow budgets very well, monitor them as well, and keep monitoring the market as things happen. As we know, some markets have reacted differently. As we look at real estate, in some areas, the real estate markets have boomed. As the report came in this morning about Darwin, that there's a surge there. Also locally here in Brisbane, we have seen a lot of people taking up the, that incentive, the grant, but those are mainly for the brand new homes, and we have seen that there's so many of the the first home buyers who are coming into the market, and they are buying those houses, taking advantage of the grant that's available there. But there is also always a word of caution that you will have to look at the period beyond, after when you have to actually meet all those requirements. Well, next news is Fleetwood Mac guitarist and co-founder Peter Green dies at 73. Green helped set up Fleetwood Mac in 1967, but we all remember that he left in 1970 due to the mental health issues. He was later diagnosed with schizophrenia. So, we pay tribute to him, and may God bless his soul.
Shall I tell you about my life? They say I'm a man of the world. I've flown across every tide. I've seen
Fleetwood Mac guitarist Green, and as we know, these days there's no three strikes when it comes to coronavirus penalties, and this is what the police minister has to say. It is again a very important message, not to be taken lightly.
There are no three strikes when it comes to a pandemic, and of course those that want to flout the rules, and we have some examples of that over the course of the last 24 hours, need to know that there is a potentially 6 months jail sentence attached to what we are facing at the moment. And I don't want to see business owners having to go into incarceration for 6 months for doing the wrong thing.
And that is again a very, very important message, as I mentioned before, that not to be taken lightly. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Australian Indian Radio's daily Facebook Live updates, and it's wonderful to have your company. Well, let's take a very quick look at the upcoming events, and today we'll try and play a request for someone all the way from India, but we will have that as the finishing segment, because sometimes that segment gets muted for copyright reasons from Facebook, but we will put the disclaimer in before we do that. But right now, let's take a look at all our upcoming events for now. Online Hindu Dharma classes is an ongoing session by Bal Sanskar Kendra, and Siva Pujan Kendra announces. You can have a look at their sites as well. Of course, we all know about the BSK Annual Cup. Satish Rajendran there doing a wonderful job. The Gurdwara programs have begun. Langars are taking place, but please check their websites and updates before visiting. And if you are planning on donating food, you can do so there as well. The Hindu helpline during COVID-19 is still operative, and the gala dinner for Gopio Queensland has been postponed for health reasons until further notice. And of course, Indian Support Centre for COVID-19 is happening. And Brisbane chapter of the Vedanta Centre of Sydney, all their programs are on our website as well, and they're having a lot of online services happening these days as well. So make sure that you be aware of that and take part in those ones as well. So this is a webinar on mental health, and of course, as we know, Vasan Srinivasan at the helm there, and that has taken on, and there's so many ambassadors right here in Queensland as well who have all taken who've all gone on board to support and promote that. So there's a range of series of things that have been set out for the Mental Health Month, and we will keep you updated from here as we support all those events. It is something of very importance to our community that people are aware of what's available in terms of help, but also being aware of noticing the symptoms when someone is going through a depression or things like that. How do you know? So that is very important that we know. This one here is about Sahyog, which is a joint initiative by many of the organizations. And there will be so many different other programs that will come on, which we'll probably try and update today for the rest of the week. And if you are looking for any ads or editorial in the newspaper, now's the time, because we'll be going to press very soon. So contact Charita for all the ads, and contact our office for any editorial that you might have, and you don't want to miss out on the August edition, which will be a bumper issue. So if you haven't already done so, please do contact our office and for editorials, and contact Charita Deshpande for all your ads. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having your company once again on this Monday, the 27th of July, a beautiful day out there today. And as I said before, today we'll endeavor to play a request for somebody. And the request is for us Muhammad Rafi's song, and the request comes all the way from Amreli, Gujarat, and it's by Badlani Rajkumar. So if you are tuned in, here's the song for you, and a notice is that the copyright remains with the owners of the song, and it is used purely played here for entertainment purposes on the request. So here's the song from Muhammad Rafi. We'd like to leave you all with this song.
है जाना महफिल से, वो कैसे जाओगे निकल कर दिल से। मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, ओए मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर। दिल बर दिल तो कहे तेरी राहों को रोक लूं मैं, ओ दिल बर दिल तो कहे तेरी राहों को रोक लूं मैं। आई बिरहा की रात अब बतला दे क्या करूं मैं, आई बिरहा की रात अब बतला दे क्या करूं मैं। याद आएंगी ये बातें तुम्हारी, तड़पेगी मोहब्बत हमारी। मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, हो मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर।
दिन सारा गुजारा तोरी अंगना, अब जाने दे मुझे मोरी सजना। मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, ओ मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर। तू आसमान मेरी हस्ती पे छा गया तू, मैं धरती तू आसमान मेरी हस्ती पे छा गया तू। सीने के सुर्ख बाग में दिल बन के आ गया तू, सीने के सुर्ख बाग में दिल बन के आ गया तू। अब रंग दे निगाहों में मस्ती, की बस्ती। मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, हो मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर।
आसान है जाना महफिल से, वो कैसे जाओगे निकल कर दिल से। मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर, मेरे यार शब्बा खैर।
Badlani Rajkumar from Amreli, Gujarat, India. Thank you so much for your request. I hope that Facebook doesn't take that down because of copyright infringements. As we know, we are working our way through that. As we know, many people do put on things there. I've seen some, makeshift radio jockeys also playing songs and getting away with that. I don't know how they do it, but I have checked, and someone said because they don't put the songs through studio directly, and they're just playing it on the speaker there and going live on with their mobile phones, and because the sound is not clear, it's not quality, so the algorithm do not match up with them. But anyway, it's wonderful to have your company, and thank you so much. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.